So we're going to stream this kilo. The audio's down at the minute.
Okay, good morning Daniel and Liam. Welcome along to round 9 preview. Here we are nearly halfway through the season. Daniel, how's Lindisfarne travelling from your perspective at this point in the season?
It's been pretty inconsistent. I think the biggest thing to note is we're a pretty new group. We've got 10 to 12 new players in our group that have floated through our team through the first 7 games, so we're just taking a while to get to understand each other, and for me as well as the coach to understand some of the new players and where they best fit in terms of their roles. So we've been pretty inconsistent. We've played some good footy along the way. Last week was a massive step forward. We got a really good 4-quarter effort-based performance. We were able to beat Cygnet by around 10 goals, and the performance was pretty good, so we're happy with that, but we're understanding that we need to take another step forward this week.
I noticed last week's result was very even up to half time, and then you obviously was able to pull away. How did you see Cygnet shaping up as a competitor last week?
Really strong forward half of the ground. Holton and Doreen looked really dangerous early. They got us in the first quarter at centre bounce and stoppage, so that just gave their forwards access to the ball one-on-one, and they looked pretty dangerous. I thought we were in control of the game for a lot of the first half, but probably that first quarter around stoppage and probably turned the ball over a little bit going forward. In the second quarter it resulted in goals, but I thought we controlled the game for most of the day.
Yep. I noticed Cassidy back last week, kicked 9, must have had some straight kicking boots on last week.
Yeah, He tells me 9.4. I think it was 9.6. So telling fibs, but he was outstanding. I've seen Cass play a lot of footy, and that's as good a game of footy as I've seen him play. He's in some pretty good form. He missed the week before against Huonville just with some general soreness, and so the rest had done him the world of good. His body was fresh, and he just jumped at the ball, and his mitts were on. So I'm hoping he can continue that type of form moving forward.
One player that I've regularly seen in your best players this season, Daniel Blaisley.
Yep.
Must be having a good season.
He is. Daniel, by his own admission, didn't work hard enough last year, and he come back from Lauderdale and ended up playing our reserve premiership. Just the fact he just didn't work hard enough, and so we had a good open chat through the pre-season, and his pre-season was outstanding. Got himself really fit. He's playing multiple roles now, so we've really been able to add different things to his game. He's been playing a bit at half back, a bit on ball, a bit forward. So it just depends on the opposition and the situation in the game. His speed is first class, and his ball use is great. So he's in great form, but he's understanding that he needs to continue to work hard to make sure that he continues that.
It's good to hear. I noticed another player in your best players last week, Luke Swinton. Is that a young player?
Yeah, it's his second game. He's just turned 18. He's come out of our under-18s. He's a Lindisfarne junior that went off to Clarence for a couple of years and played in one or two of their under-18 premiership teams. And he decided to make the move back. He started in our under-18s, and his form in the under-18s was outstanding. And we had a look at him against Brighton, played a game, then we sent him back for a week, mainly because he played school footy with Guildford Young during the week, and we didn't want him to play 2 games in a week at senior level. We brought him back in last week, and he was outstanding. Super clean, below his knees, great speed, really aggressive, and big future.
It's good to hear. So, nearly halfway through, sitting in 3rd spot.
Yep.
Who do you see as your main challengers to that top 3 position?
I think the great thing about the competition is pretty even. So Hobart are only actually a game behind us, so they'll be coming for us tomorrow, and if they come and they get the result, we're even on points, so it's pretty even competition. Claremont are clearly the best team we've played. They're really well organised, and their ball movement was, particularly from their back half, was really strong, and they've got great forwards that can catch the ball. But no disrespect to Huonville, we played poorly against them, but they were super organised as well, and I like the way they were able to hold onto the ball. Like, they play a really high possession game and a lot of uncontested marks. They worked really hard. Dawley's done a great job with them. They've got a lot of talent down there, and so I think they'll be around the mark as well. But I think any of the teams sort of from 1 to 6 can compete, so we're understanding that if we're not on our game, we're going to have a tough day.
Yep. So, as you said, you have Hobart this week. Who are the people that you need to combat at Hobart to ensure you come away with a victory?
Top end talent. Sam Reeves obviously in great form. He's averaging close to 5 goals a game. Young Hadfield's kicked a few goals, so we'll be mindful of those. But I think the game will be won, as it always is, at Anzac Park through the middle of the ground, small ground. They've got some good mids in Charlton, Sullivan, Langdale. I think Newman's been in pretty good form as well. So we'll need to make sure we're on our game. We'll have some specific matchups and some structural things based around who we think we need to stop. But just from watching the last quarter last week, I think they won the last quarter. They got some really good run off their half back line, so we'll need to make sure the pressure's good in our front half to be able to hold it in.
Yep. Liam, you've missed a few weeks with injury. How's that coming along?
Yeah, it's coming along nicely. Just a bit of a shoulder issue picked up against New Norfolk, so I'll give yourself sort of the best chance I can and do a little bit of a fitness test tonight and see how that comes up. But yeah, a little bit frustrating, especially with the performances over the last few weeks, so keen to get back.
Hobart's not performed too well at home this season. What's the mystery around the TCA?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a disappointment for us that it's, the ground's in such good nick, and we've had a lot of supporters come up there and check us out, and we haven't been able to, for whatever reason, get the result. But it is a small ground up at the TCA, and I think we've just got to tweak our game plan a little bit and how we play on the smaller grounds. Anzac Park will be another good example about how we can put that into play. But yeah, going forward, we'd be very keen to get our first win at home.
And with Lindisfarne at Anzac Park this week. How do you think you will be able to beat them?
Yeah, it's a good question. They're a really well-balanced team. I think they're quite strong in the spine, but then they've got a lot of good runners, and as Dan mentioned, a lot of young runners and a good balance between experience and youth. So it's something a lot of teams and ourselves included are probably trying to emulate. Look, we think, as far as our performances go, we think if we play 4 quarters of footy, our best is good enough to beat anyone in the comp. And again, as Dan said, it's such an even comp that anyone can beat anyone on their day. So we'll just be looking for consistency in our performance. I don't think we've put together a 4-quarter performance that we've been really happy with so far this year. So for us, it's more about getting those little things working together, getting our structures working, and really putting in 4 quarters of good footy. And then I think the rest will take care of itself.
Yep. Now, Daniel's already mentioned Sam Reeves has been in pretty good form. Any more that you would like to add in respect to Sam's performance year to date?
Yeah, Sam's been obviously a really good focal point for us up forward. Dan mentioned Josh Hadfield as well, who's popped up and really been that crummer that we've probably been crying out for over the last few years. Again, Cal Newman off halfback and through the middle has really stepped up for us this year. And then even some younger boys. Callum Woodward down back has been really good for us, and Mark Cripps, I think 18-year-old sort of coming off the wing, coming up from our under-19 side, has really impressed me as well. So yeah, we're coming together as a group. As Dan said, it's about, we've had a lot of new influences in the group this year, myself included, so it's a matter of sort of gelling, and I was having a chat to Becky the other night. We haven't sort of had a game this year where all our leadership group have been on the same field together, so we'll be looking at sort of getting a few players back from injury and really sort of consolidating for the back half of the year.
So you'd see that as a big positive if you can get all those leaders on the ground at the one time?
Oh yeah, I think it makes a massive difference, especially our sort of leadership group as a whole is quite a vocal group, and having all of those guys out on the field, regardless of if they're having a massive day, just really helps the players around them to reach their potential as well.
I notice your Colts are struggling for numbers a little bit at present, and further challenged by the fact that obviously a number of them attend Hutchins and are representing the Sartis competition there. But I notice young Cripps has played a couple of games where he's obviously played Colts in the morning and then seniors later in the day.
Yeah.
That's got to be a real challenge for anyone.
Yeah, that's it. He's backing up. Well, he has been backing up really well on the whole. I think he pulled up a little bit sore last week when he was backing up in the seniors. So obviously it's not an ideal situation, but from a club point of view, you really want to get a Colts team on the park. I think once those Hutchins boys come back, our numbers will obviously be bolstered a fair bit, and we'll have the full complement. But up until that point in time, it's going to be a little bit slapdash till then. But Nathan Harters doing a great job with that group.
Yep. Now, we had you in earlier in the season, so several weeks ago now. How have you foreseen the SFL competition to this point in date?
Yeah, I think it's a really good competition, a really good brand of footy. There's still a lot of big sort of big players, good players, and you just got to look at the rep squad that was released recently and look at that lineup, and there's still a lot of quality talent in the SFL as a competition. And as Daniel said, I think it's really good for the competition as well to have such an even playing field. As I mentioned earlier, I think anyone on their day can beat anyone. So from a spectator point of view, you sort of rock up to the game knowing it's going to be a pretty close one, and a lot of our games this year have been decided by less than 1 or 2 kicks. So I think as a brand, it'd be quite good to come along and watch.
Yep. And I think one of the greatest positives from an SFL perspective this season would be the number of young blokes clubs right across the spectrum have brought into their teams, and they're actually performing well. So.
Yeah, definitely. We've obviously got young Swinton, but we've also got Luke Briggs, who's not long out under 18, Dylan Zantuck, who's out at under 18s last year, all playing senior footy. Jack Baslin's played senior footy this year, he's less than 18, so I think there's a lot of young talent in the competition, and I think looking at, without knowing some of the Hobart young boys, looking at the last quarter against Hewlville, just they're quite young in most areas of the ground, so I think that's where the competition's at. Hewlville were the same, like, they were really young and quick, and I think the competition stepped up a bit. Obviously Norfolk were the benchmark last year and had a really good experienced group, but we actually played them in the grand final and our average age was 22. You know, even with the Cassidys and Matty Smiths and those guys in the side, we were still really young, and we're probably even younger now. So it's great for the competition. I think Hobart are pretty much the same. Liam, you'd probably be, apart from Banger, I see he's been playing a couple of games, you'd probably be one of the older guys in the team.
Yeah, I think Banger at 40 sort of bumps our average age up a little bit, but, which is amazing that he's still kicking on at that age. But yeah, that's right. We've got a lot of younger guys coming through, and as Dan said, they're sort of starting to make up the core of people's teams. It's not, you know, this model where there's all these sort of old experienced players that are carrying the torch, and the younger guys are fringe players. A lot of these younger guys are, you know, really being the focal points of teams, which is really good to see.
Yeah, and the teams have those experienced players around them to help teach them.
I think now it's, for us, we've sort of based our model on get experienced players around the youth rather than getting youth around the experience.
Yep.
And I think that's the model for us, it's been for our club for the last couple of years.
All right, thanks guys.
Just wanted to talk about the rep game. I know you're obviously involved as co-coach, and we were talking to Matty the other day. Matty seems really fired up and involved. Can you tell everybody where that's at? When does training start?
So training's a couple of Mondays away, Tony, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah, two Mondays away at Abbotsfield Park. Look, really excited to work with Matty as well. It's so obviously you only really get to talk to Matty when we play against them over the years, and just having a couple of chats with him on the phone and a sit down with him. He's an extremely passionate man about footy in Tasmania, and it's interesting to note we've got very similar philosophies on footy, so that's good. I think we'll work well together. As Liam said before, the squad we've put together is pretty sharp. We're pretty happy with the squad we've put together, and we feel with the things that the SL are putting in place around it to be able to encourage players to play in it, we feel like if we can get somewhere near our best 22 on the park on the day, we'll be pretty hard to beat. So we're really excited. I'm really excited to work with Matty, to work with the players, and hopefully get a result. And the fact that it's here makes it even better. You know, love to play at North Hobart, and yeah.
And what do you know about the NTFA?
Not a lot. I keep an eye on their results. I do have a couple of mates in Lonnie who I've touched base with this week, just to try and get as much info as I can. But over the next 2 weeks, we'll start to collate a bit of that and try and get a bit of information on them. And I think in these types of games, I think if you focus too much on opposition, you take away from what you're there to do. So we want to really concentrate on our group, pick the best side that we can pick, and play some pretty exciting footy, play some fast footy, and make it enjoyable. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Is it 22 players?
Yeah, it's 22.
And have you sort of got the main 22 almost?
We haven't. We're pretty happy with the squad. The squad's at 40. We're pretty happy with that. We're comfortable that any of those guys could play a role for us, and it'll just come down to a little bit of form, but maybe some injury troubles around that time as well, as to if we can get our best 22 up. But you know, pretty comfortable that we'll get a good 22 out of that.
And how hard is it taking the Lindisfarne cap off and saying, no, this is a different role for this particular match? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, it's not difficult. It's the hardest thing as a coach is to, especially when you're working with an opposition coach, you don't want to be giving too much of what you do at club level and showing your hand too much. But in saying that, it's everyone knows how Lindisfarne plays. It's no secret. I'm open to the way we play fast footy, and that's how it is. And that's the type of footy we'll try and play in the rep game. It's, yeah, we've got a pretty good setup. It's pretty professional. We're trying to base it like on a TSL model, to have line coaches and, you know, bench coach and good runners and all those types of things. And I think we've got 4 trainers on board for the day, and we're trying to make it as professional for the players as we can, to make it as enticing as possible.
Yeah. And as your thoughts on rep footy? You might not be playing yourself, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll have to slip down a 20 under the desk there, just to make sure it's gets it over the line. But yeah, I think it's a really exciting concept. And I guess from a player's perspective, it'd just be interesting to learn as much as you can from these guys from other clubs, and pick up as much as you can to take back to your club, and different training methods and different drills and stuff from obviously Dan and Smithy that they're bringing in as well. And I don't know, it's just exciting to be playing with the best players in the competition. So yeah, I think it'll be a really good concept.
I think that Mickey Paul might have said that when we were here last time. The biggest thing I got from it last year is friendships. Like you get to meet people that you probably just say g'day to when you see them. And now, so Mickey Paul's a good example. We made him captain last year, and we're not best mates, but we talk to each other, see each other, and talk a lot now. So it's the friendships that you develop from it, and I think that from the players' perspective, you get to understand and learn a bit more about the individuals in the team. So that's a really positive thing from it.
Great. Yep. I think that's about it. Thanks very much.
Let's do it.
Thank you.